A couple of weeks ago, I was asked in a comment to make a video comparing the two best safety prospects in the 2021 NFL Draft. If you are a fan of the channel, you know that this is a style of video that I have previously done, but while the idea wasn't anything new, the circumstances definitely were. In both of these videos that I have previously made, there were a consensus two best players at the position, but the safety position is just a little bit different. At the safety position this year, there are three prospects vying for the label of Safety 1 in the draft, which made my job just a little bit trickier. I went about my normal scouting process comprised of a three-pronged approach including analysis of their film, stats, and off-the-field personality, but instead of scouting two players, I scouted three: Trevon Moehrig from TCU, Richie Grant from UCF, and Jevon Holland from Oregon. My goal when I started out was to unbiasedly scout all three and then distinguish who I thought the two best safeties were, but early on I noticed something that changed everything up. As you saw in the title and the thumbnail, Jevon Holland was the one player I ruled out, but it's not for the reason you might think. I didn't rule out Jevon Holland because he wasn't as good, but instead because he isn't a safety in my eyes. This video isn't about him, so I don't want to dwell on it too much, but everything I saw on film led me to believe that he should be considered a cornerback in this draft class and not a safety. Obviously, if you guys want to hear more about that opinion, leave a comment letting me know, and if enough of you are interested, I will put up my scouting report on our Instagram or our Twitter, or hell, maybe even enough of you guys want it, it can be its own separate video on this channel. Anyways, with Holland out of the picture, I just had to work out who was better between Moehrig or Grant, and after a lot of deliberation, I finally figured it out. Hello everybody, I am Jack Smith from the Cold Hard Truth. We bring you the cold hard truth on everything football. In this video, I'm going to go over my scouting reports for both Moehrig and Grant, dissecting their strengths and weaknesses before pitting them against each other as prospects and figuring out who the best safety really is in this 2021 NFL Draft class. If this interests you, please leave a like and consider hitting that subscribe button because we have so many videos just like this up on our channel. Also, we have a podcast where we discuss the biggest football news every single week. So while this channel might be the best place to find in-depth dives onto players, teams, and themes, our podcast is easily the best place to find our opinions on some of the biggest newsworthy topics in all of football. You can find the link to our podcast in the description next to our social media links and our website link. Without further ado, let's get into Grant and Moehrig's respective strengths. Richie Grant is a do-it-all safety who excels in both coverage and run support due to his high motor and relentless effort on every play. No matter the call or the play, Grant is always flying around the field. When he plays deep safety, he has great range and flies to wherever the ball is thrown, and if he is in the box, he throws himself into every group tackle on the field. I know it is weird not to start off this breakdown with a flashy play from Grant, but I want to be as transparent as possible and start this off with the play that stood out to me early on when watching Grant's film, and really showed me what I was going to get with him as a player and a prospect. In this play early in the game against Stanford, Grant's teammate gets an interception and he's behind the play. Grant is already behind the play, so he could easily just slow up and let his teammate return the interception. But instead, Grant runs down the sideline with his teammate, trying to get ahead of him and get a block to get his teammate into the end zone, which just showed me how hard he was going to play every single play. And the level of effort that I noticed in this play was a constant throughout every single minute I watched of Grant and led to some great plays in both coverage and run support. Grant is very solid in coverage and can play at really any level. He plays quick and is able to combine great range and deep coverage with strong physical coverage in the flats. He's instinctive in zone coverage and above average in man coverage, which should really boost his draft stock because teams will love his versatility. He's also very strong at the catch point, and while he won't be the guy to deliver the jarring hits, he has shown that he has an innate ability to knock the ball loose and force incompletions while in traffic. Grant is very solid in coverage, and he can do everything and is very versatile there, but the area that he excels in the most actually is in run support. He may be small, but he is not shy. He wants to be involved in every single tackle, and while his form and angles aren't great, I'll get into that later, his motor and athleticism help him make some big plays in run support. He is tremendous from sideline to sideline and is never afraid to put his body in front of a play. When you watch Grant on film, it is easy to understand why he was the highest graded run support safety in all of college football by PFF. Grant is the definition of well-rounded, just like my NFL comparison for him actually, Marcus Maye. As a Jets fan, I have seen a lot of Maye over the past few years, and I believe he is one of the most well-rounded safeties in all of the NFL. He started his career as a free safety for the Jets and then last year switched to playing strong safety, filling the shoes of Jamal Adams, and became the team MVP. Maye and Grant are very similarly sized, and just like I explained about Grant, Maye combines deep range with run support motor and great ball skills, giving more than his all on every single play, which is the main reason that I went with this comparison for Richie Grant. Moving on to Trevon Moehrig, his biggest strength is easily his coverage ability. Moehrig is elite in coverage and graded out as PFF's highest graded safety in 2020, and while I normally don't use stats very often in these videos, I think in this case, Moehrig's stats show just how great he is in coverage. In his 2 years starting, Moehrig allowed only a 51% completion percentage against and a 54.75 passer rating allowed, picking off 6 passes and breaking up 20. Since 2019, Moehrig has forced an incompletion on 25% of his targets, which was the highest rate among all safeties, and when you turn on the film, it's pretty easy to comprehend. There are so many plays on Moehrig's tape that showcase his ability in coverage. His ability as a deep free safety and a box safety in coverage is tremendous, but his ability at the catch point is what stands out the most to me. In this play versus Texas, they tried to trick him with a double move, one thing he struggled with the most in 2019, which we will also get into later, but he stayed disciplined. He blanketed the guy in coverage and jumped the pass to force an incompletion. He stayed low and patient and did not bite on the fake move, and when the receiver played into his real route, Moehrig quickly flipped his hips and kept up. When the ball was coming down, Moehrig got his head around, got his hands on the receiver, and got in front of the pass, and it was just a perfect rep. I think this play showcases Moehrig's ability to be patient in coverage that he learned as he progressed from 2019 to 2020, but it also shows his ability to get his hands on the football, something he does tremendously throughout his entire career, and also he shows that he's able to fluidly flip his hips, which is a very necessary skill for safeties to have. This is a great example of Trevon Moehrig in man coverage, but he also excels in zone coverage, which is exactly what he needs to succeed at as a free safety in the NFL. The most prominent trait on Moehrig's tape is his aggressiveness, but he also mixes that with his instinctiveness, creating a combo of traits which allow him to create big stops for his defense and make big plays to get the ball back for his team. He has good range at the deep free safety position, and he excels when he is breaking down on routes when playing in flat zones or hook zones. Moehrig is tremendous at patrolling the field because of the stellar combination of all of these traits. Finally, Moehrig's size allows him to be an explosive and strong hitter. Standing at 6'2" and weighing in over 200 pounds allows him to match up physically against both wide receivers and tight ends, which is very important in the NFL today, especially for a safety who's going to be asked to man up against some of the best tight ends and best wide receivers, if necessary, on his defense. I think that Moehrig's profile is directly comparable to Denver Broncos safety Justin Simmons, who is also an aggressive free safety who constantly make plays on the football. Just like Moehrig, Simmons flies around the field playing with aggressive instincts on every play and making big plays for his team throughout the game. Also, Simmons and Moehrig have almost the exact same build, so the resemblance is really not hard to see for me. When it comes to the negatives for Richie Grant, I think there are only a couple of issues that I had when scouting him. First of all, he will be 24 years old by the time he steps on the field for his first NFL game. Grant's age will just limit his potential down the line because when his rookie contract is up, he will already be nearing 30 years old. Also, it does mean that once he gets to the NFL, he will probably not improve physically over his career, especially early on in his career, like most rookies end up doing. The other two negatives in my mind are just a little bit more nitpicky. I find that there are a couple plays each game where Grant takes poor angles to the ball carrier, which allows the runner to gain more yards and takes Grant out of the play. In the end, though, Grant will most likely fix this in the NFL as he learns the nuances of the game from his coaches. Moving over to Trevon Moehrig, there are a couple negatives that stood out to me. I mentioned Moehrig's aggressiveness as a positive earlier, but there are definitely times where he is over-aggressive and makes mistakes both in coverage and in run support. His eyes sometimes get lost in the backfield when he is trying to make a play, and he can miss a decent amount of tackles. In 2019, he was killed by double moves because teams would take advantage of him and his aggressiveness. He would bite too hard on the fake and just end up getting burned. As he progressed, however, he mostly patched up this issue, so while there will be times in the NFL where his aggressiveness leads to mistakes, I think they will be limited and his coaches will help him harness it even further. Also, Moehrig is a big hitter and is willing and aggressive when it comes to tackling, but I don't think he will be as impactful against the run as Grant will be, mostly due to his subpar tackling form and block shedding ability. that's what I have on both prospects. But a quick reminder before I get into who I think the better prospect is and who should be safety one in the NFL draft, I want to give you guys a quick reminder to, if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and hit the subscribe button for more content just like it. You can check out the podcast and the rest of our stuff in the description. And before we move on, I want you guys to, in the comment section, let me know who you think is the better prospect, noting what I've talked about and what you know about them in general. I want to hear from you guys. You guys leave it down in the comment section. I will respond to every single comment. I just want to have a full football conversation down in the comment section. But without further ado, let's get into who I think the better safety prospect is in this draft. This was a tough decision for me because I really liked both players, but when it came down to it, because Grant is going to be 24 years old by the time he's going to be a rookie and Moehrig will only be 21, I think I have to go with Moehrig as my safety one in this NFL draft class. I think there's an argument that could be made, and honestly, I tried to think about it for why Grant could be the top guy, but to put it this way, with the place that Grant is at now, it's really hard to believe that even if Moehrig is below him right now in skill and talent level and everything that I've talked about, it seems impossible to believe that he won't get to the level that Grant is now or better in 3 years when he will be the same age as Grant will be when he is a rookie. So I think the problem is, even if Grant is the better player right now, which I personally don't see, I still think it's Moehrig, I just don't see a way where Moehrig isn't as good or better than Grant right now 3 years down the road when they're about the same age. And so I think that the youth, the potential, and the skill of Moehrig make him just slightly the best safety in this draft class. But if you were drafting for who you would want to play one football game, I think there's definitely an argument for taking Richie Grant. For me, I think I would still take Moehrig, and so I would take him to be my number one safety in this NFL draft class. But right there at number 2 is Richie Grant. Obviously, he talks about a lot of great skills for him. I think he'll be a great safety at the NFL level, just doesn't have the potential to grow as much as I think Moehrig does, which is why I had to go with Trevon Moehrig from TCU as my number 1 safety in the NFL draft class this year. Anyways, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, like I said, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment letting me know what you thought of the video and of the debate that we had in this one. We have a lot of other videos just like this on the channel. I've done one on Devonta Smith versus Jamar Chase. I had Patrick Surtain Jr. versus Caleb Farley. Anisha's done a couple. I know he had one come out just last week on Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah versus Micah Parsons. We have ones down the line too. We might have one with 3 players, 3 wide receivers. It's going to be a lot of great stuff on the channel, and we're getting you prepped for draft season and the rest of the NFL going into next season. Check out our podcast too. Anyways, that's enough from me today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next time.